So when I'm doing live theater again, I got to get you in the audience because I did Madagascar the spring 2019. But
Yeah, I had to go back to Wi-Fi. The internet wasn't loading, so I'm back on Wi-Fi.
good, ready to rock. Good morning and happy Sunday. Thank you so much for joining us and welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living Leesburg. Our theme for this year is 2020 Spiritual Vision. This month, our focus is Unchained Spirituality, and the title for our talk today is The Tao of Freedom. Right now, let us open our sacred space together, setting our intentions for our service and bringing our awareness of our unity and oneness, which is represented by one lit candle. Let us close our eyes now and bless the service and our time together. Together, let us recognize the divine presence that moves through all things and know that this presence of love expresses as each of us in unique and beautiful ways. I know that we are blessed by our time together and that each of us will be renewed in our remembrance of love, peace, wholeness, and connection. I give thanks to everyone in attendance and for everyone who made our service possible today. May the energy of love that is generated here bless us all abundantly, and so it is. We invite you to post and prepare any joy, celebrations, and prayer concerns that we will have later in our service. And we also invite you to join us for pearls and personal interaction in Google Meet after our service. At this time, we will join in meditation led by our Reverend Sunday.
Thank you, Tamara, and thank you everyone for being here. We're going to spend a little time in a deeper meditation just for 5 or 10 minutes or so, and our focus this whole month has been freedom. So we're going to do a little meditation around that embodied experience of freedom. And so if you'd like to, you can close your eyes, or you can also keep your eyes open. It's totally up to you. But if you'd like to have a, undistracted experience of meditation, you can close your eyes. And let's just settle into our posture. So comfortable, you might sit up straight and then just relax into your shoulders, staying alert but relaxed. And just notice the relaxation of the jaw, the shoulders. Just let the breath breathe in and out. Just feeling into this present moment for a moment. So as we've been contemplating this idea and experience of freedom this whole month, I'd like to, if you choose to just allow yourself to conjure up in your mind's eye some experience that you have of freedom in your life. It might be a sense of freedom of expression that you have. It could be freedom of being yourself. There might be freedom in your relationship, who you love, freedom in your career, your expression of life. It could be just a moment in your life where you felt totally free, driving down the highway or out in nature on a hike or in the garden or playing music or just some sense. It just conjure up some idea in your mind's eye of this experience and note how you're having this experience. Do you hear it in your mind talk? Do you see it on your visual inner screen? It could be fuzzy, doesn't have to be clear. There's no right or wrong. It's about learning to be aware and focusing and concentrating on this idea of how you're using your sensory experience. And so once you have this experience or this understanding of freedom in your mind's eye, just note your physical body. How do you know that this is an experience of freedom? Where do you feel it? What emotions are conjured up from this experience of freedom? Just try to note what those emotions are: joy, freedom, love, exhilaration. Is there an energy moving through your body? Is your heart expanding? Just take a moment to really feel into this experience of freedom and how it shows up in your body. And if that emotional experience starts to fade, feel free to go back to that vision again in your mind's eye of the event or the experience that you have of freedom, and then move back into the body for a few minutes. Just allow this experience to expand in your whole life, just cover your whole physical expression with this experience of freedom. Now you can stay with this experience, just absorbing it, enjoying it, but I'll offer you another opportunity if you feel so. You might think about a place in your life where you're not feeling very free. Nothing too traumatic, but just some place in your life where you're feeling a little stuck, feeling like you're not able to be yourself. And as you conjure up that experience, see if you can link that experience of freedom that you felt before to that experience. Imagine what would be like if in that part of your life you could feel that sense of freedom and joy, exuberation, whatever the experience is. Just allow yourself to imagine that for a moment. And then now let us just turn our attention to others in our life, in our world. Conjure up that sense of freedom and joy and that you've experienced in your life in whatever area that was, and radiate that feeling to those around you. If you're in the Zoom room, you can open your eyes and look at everybody here. If you're on Facebook or YouTube, you can imagine the people that you love in your lives, spreading that love to them and beyond into our world, enveloping our whole world in this sense of freedom and joy and vibrancy. And as we move into the rest of our service, you might just try to keep that experience of freedom in the background, just allowing it to carry you forth through our service and through the day. And especially in this moment, as we share a video in tribute to John Lewis today, enjoy this as we contemplate that experience of freedom and the one that he was so instrumental in carrying forth to our world.
Well, I marched through the storm, and I marched through the rain, and I marched through some sickness and some heartache and pain. And I laid on the ground, and I looked up at the sky, and I prayed to the Lord up above and asked why. But oh no, I'm not tired, I'm not through marching yet, and I'm a-marching till I die. Oh children, this you can bet. So we say, I'm gonna sing out, and I'm gonna march on. And everybody said, I'm gonna sing out, gonna march on, I'm gonna march on, gonna put one foot in front of the other foot. Yes, I am. I'm gonna sing out, gonna march on, I'm gonna march on. I got to keep on keeping on. Yes, I have. Gonna march on. I'm gonna march on. Oh, well, my grandmama marched, and my granddaddy too. And I never thought it'd be something that I have to do. But I'll march if I must. I got a mission, you see. And I'll be damned if my children have to march for me. Now I believe in the power of raising my voice, and I believe in the power of making some noise. Now if I die, I can't sing, and if I can't sing, I'll die. So we should sing for one another. Now let's give it a try. So we say, oh, gonna sing out. Oh, I got to keep on keeping on, keep on marching on. Yeah. Oh, gonna use my body for good. Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna sing out, sing out, sing out. Oh, I'm gonna sing out, sing out, sing out, sing out, sing out, sing out. Sing it one more time. Say, I'm gonna sing out, and I'm gonna march on.
John Lewis.
An extraordinary honor for both the students and John Lewis himself. What a beautiful, beautiful tribute to him.
I was only 18 when I heard him at the March on Washington.
So Sing Out and March On, a beautiful tribute to John Lewis. What a fitting tribute, especially during this time. He made his transition on July 17th, and I read that he had over 50 honorary doctorates, and that was one that he received from Harvard back in 2012. And so I just love that. Sing Out and March On, that's what it's all about, the continuing that work. And Lewis was a giant in the movement and civil rights and for equity and freedom. And he was one of the original Big Six leaders of the March on Washington with Martin Luther King. And he's actually was the last surviving one at the time of his death. And so we recognize that these just amazing people who've done so much in the civil rights movement are transitioning, and that it's ours to pick up, right? It's ours to continue to create heroes and hopefully one day not have to, but it's an ongoing thing that we're all part of it. And when I was reading about him a little bit more, I read that he aspired to be a preacher when he was 5 years old. He kind of reminded me of me. He preached to his family's chickens on the farm. I didn't ever go that far, but I preached to my dolls. And he first met Martin Luther King when he was 18. He read Rosa Parks when he was 17, and he started speaking when he was 15 years old. He had that vision and that focus to fight for freedom, and of course he went on to lead the Selma to Montgomery March, and also was one of the first freedom riders. So we just really honor him. And on that same day, Reverend C.T. Vivian also made his transition, and he was another amazing hero in the civil rights movement, a colleague of Martin Luther King. And so again, these torches are being passed to continue the work to equity and freedom and civil rights. And so this month we've been talking about this idea of unchained spirituality, which is really about freedom. And many of us come to our teachings feeling fairly constricted, maybe with the ideas that they might have grown up with or that they've known through their religious upbringings. And so there's this sense, people talk about this sense of being freed from some heaviness around their idea of spirituality. And so I thank Aaron and Larry and Charlene for the wonderful talks they've given over this month. And I've enjoyed being a part of that and having a little time off as well. And so today's talk is the Tao of Freedom. And the Tao, just in general terms, can mean the path, the way, the principle that guides us. So loosely, the Tao of Freedom can be thought of as the path or the guiding principle of freedom. And the concepts of freedom and liberty can, be pretty hot topics, and especially for us humans, and especially those of us who are in the United States, especially at this time. Personal freedoms are taken pretty seriously, and this they well should. I've discussed many times about this idea of rugged individualism and personal freedoms that have been the focus in our country and in our teachings as well. And as I said, many of us came to our teachings wanting more freedom. And that sometimes comes in the form of wanting freedom from something. We might come here wanting freedom from lack or from pain or from poverty or illness, fear, unhealthy relationships, challenges, low self-esteem. There's all kinds of things we want to be free from. And indeed, when we come into these teachings, it can be such a powerful thing to find some freedom and healing from these personal, individual expressions that we're wanting to free ourselves up. Ernest Holmes, his famous quote that he said always was, there's a power in the universe greater than you are, and you can use it. And how freeing is that, to realize that there's this power in the universe that I'm not just a whim to, that it's not just something or someone that is judging me and guiding, making my life a certain way, that there's this power that is indeed greater than I am, and yet I can guide it. I can use it in my life. I can can create in my life. So I'm not at the mercy of every single circumstance in my life, but I can harness that power and have agency in my own life. And I know that when I came into these teachings, that idea gave me great hope, great personal power, sense of freedom that I had never felt before. So our teachings at an individual level help us be free from the idea that we are powerless. And Ernest Holmes said, I love this quote by him, and he talks about this power, and he says, I am guided by the same intelligence and inspired by the same imagination, which scatters the moonbeams across the waves and holds the force of nature in its grip. That I am guided by that. And so it's not that I am just in control, but that I can allow that something that's the same intelligence, the same imagination to move out into my world, to create for me what is mine to be. So we move more deeply into our practice of these principles, we can expand our idea of being free as not only being free from something, but also to be proactive, to be free to free to be who we are, free to be an expression of our whole selves, free to be safe and loved. You know, in that meditation that I shared with you, that was an idea, a time to use that imagination to experience what I want to be free to be, to create, to grow, to think, to be, to express. So that idea of I'm free because I'm not bound by my limited beliefs, because I can choose. The freedom that we have oftentimes is in the choice of our thought. Viktor Frankl said, between stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that space is our power to choose our response. And in our response lies our growth and our freedom. So we have this powerful awareness of the choice that we have on how we respond and how we think and how we conjure up in our own mind. That freedom of mind is so powerful. We have a global vision in our movement that's quite broad and expansive vision that we see. It starts with a vision in a world that works for all. And part of that vision is that we envision humanity waking to its spiritual magnificence and discovering the creative power of thought. A world where every person discovers their own personal power and ability to create an individual life that works within the world that works for everyone. So again, this gives us this great agency in our life, that life isn't just a drudgery. It's not just about getting by day. It's just not about staying alive. You know, it could be an experience of joy and love and vibrant expression. Dr. Holmes said, we have a greater degree of choice and freedom than we have ever realized. In some way or other, by some inward compulsion and conviction, we feel that we are born to be free and happy, and we ever desire to seek this larger life. So this path of freedom is innate within us. It's us searching to expand and to grow and to experience a sense of freedom. Our Declaration of Principles, which in addition to our global vision, talks about the beliefs that we hold, not just the vision, but so our principles, which were originally written by Dr. Holmes, and we adopted them to our own principles. It says, we believe the ultimate goal of life to be a complete freedom from all discord of every nature, and that this goal is sure to be attained by all. So there's this idea of being free from discord, and that there's this opportunity, this sense that it's not just a few, it's not withheld, but it can be attained by all. Now, I sometimes think that that statement has been misconstrued, that what Ernest Holmes is saying is that we should never have any challenges in life, that the discord he's talking about is that there should never be any pain, there should never be any experience of challenge in our life. And I don't think that is the way he meant it. And I think that he addresses that. He addresses that several times. In one talk that he gave, he says this. He says it's a popular belief that those who practice the science are a class of people who declare that everything is perfect, when, as a matter of fact, everything in the objective experience of the race is not perfect, and indeed is far from perfect. And so he is saying we never deny the experience out in the world, and it's important for us to remember that. But the way I interpret this idea of being free from discord, he obviously didn't mean that there would never be any human experience, that there'd never be any challenges in our life. But the way I see discord is more like the Buddhist idea of suffering, which is the first noble truth of Buddhism, is that there is suffering. And suffering is defined by an attachment to, by a holding on, or by a pushing away, trying to, we have these experiences, and we have to try to there's impermanence in life, and we don't recognize that everything is impermanent, and in a good way it's true. Evolution is impermanent, that our whole very expression is impermanent. But when we get to this thing where we're either holding on to something or we're pushing it away, that's what creates suffering. So suffering is different from pain. We'll always have pain in our life because we're human, and there's cause and effect, and we have volition to create all kinds of ways, and oftentimes we create in ways that aren't too good for ourselves or for others. And so this idea of being free from discord is more like this idea of being free from suffering, or like in the Tao, it's the Wei Wu, which is the concept of detachment. And in the Buddhist teaching, it's about equanimity, about having equanimity in our experience. And unified mindfulness, Shenzhen Yang describes equanimity as the ability to experience sensory events without push or pull. So that's our to experience our own inner experience of it without judgment, without push or pull. So it does not mean that we're indifferent to external circumstances, that one can exhibit a high level of equanimity about what is going on in our inner world, and yet act very assertively, even forcefully, to external events if such action seems warranted. So this is a different idea. Sometimes we think that, we can't really push against anything, we can't be against anything because it's against our principles. That's not true at all. It's that there's this sense of suffering that we know how to work with, that this discord that is caused by the holding on or the pushing away that creates this pain, this suffering. And so it's not indifference to our world or our experience. It's just the non-judgment of whatever we're experiencing within our own sensory experiences. So if we feel angry, it's about developing clarity about that, about not pushing away or holding it, but letting it be without judgment, letting it flow through us in a way that is not harmful to ourselves or to others, but that we're able to be free in that expression, right? So Ernest Holmes defines freedom in our glossary in the Science Mind text as real freedom means that one is created in the image of perfection and let alone and allowed to make the discovery for ourselves. So freedom is that we have this complete, perfect, divine expression within ourselves, but we have volition to discover it in whatever way that we discover it. We have freedom of will, which means the ability to do and say and think as one wishes, to express life as one personally desires. But Dr. Holmes also said that freedom means liberty, but not license. It doesn't mean that we can have license to do whatever we want in the name of individual freedom. We have social constructs that keep us safe. That's the freedom from harm. So we have the freedom, we all have the freedom to drink, as much as we want. But our freedom ends when we think we can then get in the car and drive, because that impacts other people's freedoms. We can't have freedom without responsibility. Bob Dylan said, "I think of a hero who understands the degree of responsibility that comes with their freedom." And once again, Ernest Holmes talks about this. He talked about the idea that all people are equal before God, that everyone is an individual in their own right, and that each should have the privilege of self-expression, provided their desires do not infringe on the rights of others. So remember that quote I shared with you earlier from the Global Heart Vision. We envision humanity awaking to its spiritual magnificence and discovering the creative power of thought, a world where every person discovers their own personal power, and to create an individual life that works within a world that works for everyone. That's the last part of that our individual freedoms works within the freedoms of others. We don't live in a vacuum. We are not separate from each other. Our global vision goes on and addresses this about social responsibility freedom, where it says we envision a world where personal responsibility joins with social conscience in every area of the political, corporate, academic, and social sectors, providing sustainable structures to further the emerging global consciousness. So in our global vision, the statement of our teaching, of our organization, is the sense of personal freedom combined with social consciousness, personal responsibility with a social conscience in all areas of our lives. We are collectively responsible for each other there, and that is because we are all one. We are all part of each other. And I love this. I found this not too long ago. It's a talk that Ernest Holmes gave in 1937. July 4th, 1937. And I just want to read it to you. It's a little extensive, but I want to read the quote to you because he knew this back in 1937. And so even though we're kind of evolving in our teachings to be more of a collective consciousness, he knew it back then. And he said, true freedom, true liberty has something cosmic behind it. It has something cosmic behind it. If the time has come that modern science has proved that we cannot move a piece of paper without changing the balance of the entire physical universe, if we have come to a place where we know that the stuff of which our physical bodies are made is the same stuff of which the planets are made, if we have come to the place where such a profound unity is maintained that physicists believe there's no such thing as disunity in the physical world, then we can easily see what the great spiritual leaders of the ages meant when they told us the great unity in which we all live and move and have our being, and that the idea of freedom itself is tied up with the true concept of the unity of good. If our nature is one, if God is one, and we know that God must be one, for the universe cannot be divided against itself, there we are all tied into the indivisible unity. We shall have to get back to this unity to find the meaning of freedom. Nothing in any part of this cosmic whole could be considered freedom that would destroy the liberty of some other part of it. That would be self-destruction, would it not? As Jesus pointed out 2,000 years ago, that would be a kingdom divided against itself. The kingdom of God is one kingdom. So we know that true liberty must spring from true unity. True liberty must spring from this knowingness of our unity, of our oneness. So the Tao, the path, the guiding principle to freedom is oneness. It's our individual oneness with our divine self that allows us to experience this great sense of freedom and agency with regard to how we create in our life. But it's also our oneness with each other that creates this sense of oneness and agency, that creates this sense of knowing that as one of our talks was, no one can be free till we're all free because we're all connected. True freedom has something cosmic to it, this spiritual idea, this principle. And so it's individual and it's collective. There is action involved. With regard to freedom, it's the way we demonstrate our oneness. And if it's not now, if freedom, if it's not freedom that we choose to demonstrate collectively, what will it be? How will we demonstrate that oneness in our world unless it is a collective sense of equity and justice and freedom for all? Let's take that into our prayer today. And I'll look and see if anybody has put anything in our chat. Prayers for moms and dads and all people important. Yes. All right, so let's just feel into the divine truth of that very being, this ultimate sense of freedom and oneness. All that there is, that mighty sense that guides the planets, that allows the cycle of life and nature itself. This is the divine presence that moves in and through me in this very moment. I am a part of that, and there's a powerful sense of freedom and joy in knowing that I have this power in the universe that's greater than I am, that I can use. And so I use it this very moment through the power of my word, through the power of this creative process, as I speak this word for and with each of us from the sound of my voice, all of those in our Zoom room or on Facebook or YouTube or watching it later. I just know that divine presence is guiding and directing and moving in and through as each of us in the most powerful, perfect way. And so I know that this idea, this path of enlightenment, of freedom, is an expanded idea within each of us right now. And whatever seed it is to be planted, to know that we can experience this freedom in new and powerful ways, it is planted now. So I know we are guided, we're directed, we're supported, we're loved to be a place of freedom and independence for ourselves, and then know what is ours to do, to act out in the world, to create that world that works for all. This is the truth that I claim. And I know that as this is true for each of us in this moment, it's true for all those that are standing up and marching and expressing freedom in peaceful ways, that we're using our voice, that very sacred freedom to speak and to protest and to share the important ideals of our lives is done in a safe manner for all involved. So I know those moms and dads and kids and everybody that are involved in all areas of our life, and indeed Portland and Seattle and other areas that are grabbing the attention of the highlights right now, that there is indeed peace and safety for all involved. And so we just center into this divine truth and move into a place of gratitude. Gratitude for the ability to speak this word, for the safety and the freedom to speak this word, to know that we are each a loving present expression of that one. And so I simply with gratitude release this word into the law, knowing that it is done. And we just know this together by simply saying, and so it is. And so we're delighted the moment to have beloved Leah with us to sing for us. And I believe you've got a great chant to share with us.
That's
Hello,
right.
Leah.
Hi, good morning, Reverend Sunday. Good morning, everyone. I am here with my eldest daughter, Layla, who's going to do the responding to the call and response. This chant was actually born about 5 minutes after I received the email from Reverend Sunday about what she would be sharing this morning. And I never question, Spirit's guidance. So I'll sing a line, and if you would echo it back, stay muted, please, because that will probably be the most pleasant, audible sound for us. But I promise when we're together again, we'll do it again and be able to hear each other. Freedom is my birthright. Freedom is my birthright. I was born in freedom. I will grow in freedom. I bless my freedom now. You will birth my birthright. Freedom is my birthright. Freedom is my birthright. I was born in freedom. You were born in freedom. I bless our freedom now. Freedom to love. Freedom to live. Free to receive. And free to forgive. Freedom is your birthright. Freedom is your birthright. You were born in freedom. You must grow in freedom. I bless your freedom now. Freedom is our birthright. birthright. Freedom is our birthright.
It's our birthright.
We were born in freedom.
We were born in freedom.
We must grow in freedom.
We must grow in freedom.
I bless my freedom now.
Bless my freedom.
And I bless your freedom now.
Bless your freedom.
I claim our freedom now.
I claim our freedom now.
Beautiful. Thank you, Leah. Thank you, Layla, for being our wonderful response. Beautiful. Runs in the family. All that talent. All right. Thank you so much, Leah. So we're going to just move into our time of sharing our gifts. And so we're going to put up a slide here to share with you how to go about doing that. And we'll all right, so as Charlene's trying to get that together, you know that you can, here we go. Let's say this, our affirmation together. You can say it out loud, on mute. The presence of spirits within me blesses everyone I meet, tends to heal everything I touch, brings gladness into the life of everyone I contact. Therefore, I'm a blessing to myself, to humankind, and to the day in which I live. So we're just so grateful for any contributions that they continue to share with us. You can text your donation there. You can use Cash App. You can send a old-fashioned check. You can use PayPal, and you can find all these ways at our website, cslleesburg.org. So thank you for your continued contributions as we continue this work virtually. We're appreciative of that. And so just a couple of announcements. Charlene and I are continuing our weekday connections. Charlene does our dream study on Tuesday mornings at 9 a.m. And I am doing a unified mindfulness practice. This is a weekly drop-in group. And so you don't have to have already been experienced with unified mindfulness. You can just come and join us anytime from 9 to 10. And that's for both of them as well, for Charlene's study group as well. And I also want to mention, if you go to our website, there we have our book study, Me and White Supremacy, for practitioners. If you're a practitioner in CSL or a member or Our Lady, you don't have to be a member of a CSL. That's just a category for non-ministers or non-practitioners. We have, I think the last I looked, we have about 180 members and about 160 practitioners starting week after next. In our group. So you can go to cslleesburg.org and find that. And that is for white or white passing members of our community to discuss our role and our part in healing racism, white supremacy in the world. And so it's been a very powerful practice. We're finishing up a 5-week study with ministers, and it makes me very hopeful that we are learning how to be active in healing and dismantling white supremacy in our world. And so we're going to do our little ending blessing, and then we're going to stop our recording on Facebook and YouTube, but you can join us on Google Meet to share our pearls and just have some conversation. So if you're not on Google right now and you want to join us, you can go to our website, cslleesburg.org, and click that Google Meet and come and join us. And we're going to have a little conversation afterwards, a little community time. And so as we always do, thank you, Leah, for your beautiful music. We're so grateful for you, and for Tamara for helping holding space, and Char for all the good work you do for us behind the scenes, and everyone being here. So let's just place our hand over our hearts and close your eyes for a moment, and just really with feeling, just say, I am love. And then open your eyes, and wherever you are, if you're here on Zoom with us, just say you are love, or if you have somebody in your room or somebody in your mind, just you are love. And then just remember that it is all love. And let's give some love sprinkles for everybody, and have a beautiful week. And we'll see you in our Google chat, or next week, or maybe sometime